Saudi Arabia has posted a budget surplus of around 28 million reals in the first quarter, following an increase in non-oil revenue. According to Saudi Finance Minister Mohammed Al-Jadaan, it's the first time the kingdom has seen a budget surplus since 2014. Now Hadley joins us in Riyadh with more. Hadley.
Hey, good morning, Juliana. Thanks so much. I'm now joined by the Finance Minister of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed Al-Jadaan. So great to see you again, sir. I have to kick off by asking you about that budget surplus. There have been some questions raised in other media news organizations about that number specifically and how that number was achieved, given the fact that we saw lower oil prices over the last year. Walk me through those numbers.
I mean, the numbers are two. There is the non-oil revenue, which we'll talk about in a minute, and then the oil revenue. Both of them results in a surplus of 28 billion, but then there is also efficiency of spending. There is a lot of work on what we are spending, how we are spending it, and how efficient we are. The combination of this resulted in 28 billion, but this is the first quarter only.
And is this as a result of trenches, or is this a result of the non-oil sector growing?
Both of them, actually both of them. We had a growth on non-oil revenue, significant growth of non-oil revenue for between 14 and 19 first quarter. We tripled, so 300% increase in non-oil revenue. And oil revenue is just the normal. We take the royalty tax and then dividends, and normally in the first quarter we receive special dividends from Aramco.
And in terms of this conference itself, this is the second day of the financial sector conference. It's the first of what you're hoping is going to be an annual conference, but this is the third major financial conference in the kingdom in the last couple of years. Walk me through some of the MOUs and some of the announcements that have been made at this conference that make it stand out from the FIIs we've seen in the past.
I think this conference comes in the context of Vision 2030, and it is very important really to look into why are we doing this, how are we doing it, and what have we done so far. And why is, as you know, young demography, 70% are below 35, looking for jobs, looking for opportunities and quality of life. The response to that is Vision 2030. And we are using our strength, we are using our assets, our wealth, our location, our two holy mosques to ensure that we are diversifying our economy and our revenues, as you have seen in the numbers. What have we done? Is this conference a response? Is basically we are showing only in the financial sector alone that a lot have been achieved. In the fiscal discipline, we have shown that we converted a negative growth last year to a positive by the end of 2018. We are showing discipline on budget spending, but we are also showing that we are spending a lot to enable the private sector. We are coordinating within the government, we are coordinating within the private sector and making sure that we are responsive. We are signing deals that are significant, not only that they are just transactional, but they are sustainable. They are really working and giving the private sector a room to participate in, enabling the private sector to grow. As you know, we have a target to grow the private sector participation from 40% to 65%. What we have seen in the last 2 days is a response that the private sector is responding. They are executing deals, they are building hospitals, they are building schools, they are investing in infrastructure. We have signed in the last 6 months alone 7 mega deals in power, water, hospitality, and healthcare by the private sector. So there is a lot of response. And obviously, we have seen an overwhelming response also from the foreign investors. In our own debt papers, we have seen overwhelming demands. In Aramco's debt paper, we have seen an overwhelming demand, and that is a vote of confidence. The other vote of confidence from the private sector is we have seen an overwhelming vote of confidence from the 3 major indices to include Saudi Arabia into the international emerging market indices. We have seen also JP Morgan including Saudi the debt instruments into the debt indices, emerging market debt indices. So there is really a lot of positive response from both the local investors and international investors on what we are doing and the reform that is taking place.
Walk me through how these higher oil prices today are really going to impact what you're trying to do, because what we saw over the last couple of years with the lower oil prices was really the private sector, not externally but internally, pulling back. They were waiting to see how they were going to deploy their capital. How do you see that changing with higher oil prices now and on the horizon?
I think the whole Vision 2030 is a response also to this volatility in oil price, because we were dependent heavily as a revenue on oil price and oil revenue. And we wanted to make sure that we diversify the economy so that the volatility will have less and less impact as we go on in our economic plan and fiscal plans. So the private sector is seeing this. The private sector is seeing more stability. Private sector is responding very positively to the reform that we have done. Structural reform, we are making it a lot easier to do business. We jumped in protection of investors from the 70-something in the WIF indices to number 7 in ease of doing business. And so a lot of indices are confirming the reforms that we are doing and making it easier for investors to come and invest. We have seen the response. I mean, the last 2 days, that attendees, the deals that have been signed is just a confirmation that we are delivering. It's not anymore a plan, it's not anymore just talking about it. Actually, we are also delivering, and the private sector sees that, and they appreciate it.
Walk me through who you're seeing on the horizon who's going to come and directly put their money to work in Saudi Arabia, because you and I were on a panel yesterday with Larry Fink, obviously the chairman and CEO of BlackRock, and he said, for us, the Aramco bond issuance was very exciting, but he stopped short of talking about how he was going to put the fund's money to work inside the kingdom as a next step. He did say, I'm going to open office, and that's on the horizon, but he didn't give specific details, and I think that's something that particularly CNBC viewers would like to hear more about in terms of the foreign investors who, we already know some of them here like AMC, but in terms of kicking that can down the road and really getting the foreign investors to commit long term, what's the outlook?
The outlook actually is very positive. We have seen the number of investments in 2018 jumping 98%. We have seen in the first quarter that the number of investments alone is jumping about 64%. First quarter 19 compared to 18. So the number of investments is really growing. BlackRock is one of the largest investors in Saudi Arabia. They are investing and have been investing, and they are increasing their investments. And you take multiple areas of investments. You take the energy. We have seen a lot of investment from US companies, from European, from Asia. Petrochemicals, where we have very strong industry, but we also have seen significant investment in healthcare and entertainment, which is booming in Saudi Arabia. We're opening the tourism sector. That is creating jobs, that is responding to our youth demand for jobs and investment opportunities. So a lot is happening on the ground, and we are seeing a real traction and trajectory going up on a number of investments that is coming.
As you say, that number is up definitely from a year ago, but in terms of that 10-year trajectory, it's actually down in terms of the foreign investment. Where are you going in terms of the strategy to get that number back up?
Few things I think we need to look at. Number one is the facilities that we are making and enabling the private sector. 2, predictability. 3, making our legislations a lot more friendly for investors, engaging with the private sector and talking to them. We are seeing really serious demand, but then there is the opportunities. Money is looking for opportunities, and we have mega projects are being built around the kingdom. Infrastructure is being built around the kingdom. Healthcare demand is increasing. Education demand is increasing. Hospitality industry is significantly increasing. And if you visit just the West Coast and you see the infrastructure that is being built around the hospitality and the ecosystem.
We're talking about NEOM.
It's just not only NEOM, the Red Sea, Amala, the Jeddah beach. A lot is taking place there, and that requires a lot of infrastructure. That provides a lot of investment opportunities. And we have heard very clearly yesterday and today from the top investors, international investors, they are seeing significant opportunities, and they are actually considering, and some of them have committed a lot of money, billions. We're not talking about little money, in the years to come.
And final question, sir, and as you say, billions committed over the next several years, and long-term strategies, but also, of course, security does play into that. We see this heightened rhetoric between Tehran and the United States. That's obviously helping to push oil prices higher, which is good news for Saudi Arabia in that sense. But also, when you look at the fiscal outlook for the country, what are you most worried about? Is this a slowdown in China? Is this the trade talks? What's really the big challenge on your horizon?
Few things. I think we were a little bit worried, as IMF have said, with the trade tension, and that is easing a little bit. We have seen the IMF numbers saying that actually 2020 we will see a rebound of the world economy from 3.3 to 3.6. So that is a good news. we are making sure that we are stabilizing the energy market. So we wanted to make sure that we provide the supply if there is a shortfall in any supply. And in addition, I think what is happening now is actually bringing more stability, is with controlling Iran, making it less possible for them, less resource available to them to destabilize the region, is actually bringing stability to the region. So I hope we will see prosperous region and Saudi Arabia, and we will meet next year and we'll show you even more better results.